Hej och välkommen till workshop. I'm gonna introduce Nadia from ImagiLabs. She's the one that's going to do this workshop with us today. Or ImagiLabs, I always say ImagiLabs, Imagi perhaps. So hi Nadia, please take it from here.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're an ed tech startup based in Stockholm. Apologies for my English. I'm sure that's fine for all of you though. Yeah, I'm originally from the US, and before I introduce myself and the company, I think it's actually best that you all download our app because that's where we will be coding. So whatever device you're on, you can search Imagi or ImagiLabs. And please get our app, and that'll just take you a couple minutes to set up. And as you set up, I will explain everything about myself and the company. So if you don't have a mobile phone on you right now that can download something, you're welcome to go to our old web platform, imagilabs.com/app, but I really recommend our mobile apps. That's kind of our landmark product, at least in the beginning, although we are switching gears a little bit now as a company. But yeah, so go ahead and do that. Just about myself, I worked in New York City before living in Sweden, and I am very happy to be in Stockholm in ed tech, although I was working in schools before. Yeah, ImagiLabs has this sort of logic exercise. Our CEO often says this: if tech equals the future, but women are not a part of making technology, then how are women a part of shaping our future? So we are trying to make it so that girls feel included in the tech industry and doing that sort of from the bottom up, starting and targeting girls at a younger age. So these are the two founders, Dora and Beatrice. They also both went to KTH, and the company sort of came out of Dora's master's project. So she's not a businesswoman by trade. She's actually an engineer and a designer. And so she really wanted to solve a problem, which is why we created Imagi. And not just because we felt like creating a company, although there's no problem with that either. So we've seen in research, both in Sweden and the US, that the preteen age group sees kind of the same interest in tech between genders, but then girls, when they are older in the teens, around age 13, 14, 15, 16, the relative interest in STEM drops significantly compared to boys. So we want to catch them at or before this stage. And so what teen and preteen girls care about is showing off their hobbies, interests, and embodying themselves in what they show to the world. They're always on their phones, probably more than laptops, certainly more than us. And generally like to, hold things that are colorful, that they can customize themselves, which kind of relates to our wearable accessory, the Imagi charm. So this is our hardware, which is not necessary for the educational experience that you're going to get today. The Imagi charm was originally, the idea was a phone case. And then it sort of came down to a wearable accessory. So people say it looks like a Tamagotchi, but actually it was not the original idea. It's really now a charm that you put on your backpack, put on a Christmas tree, whatever you want to do with this, and show off your code to the world. And there's 8x8 pixels, which you will soon experience on your mobile devices. The company was able to fund this hardware on Kickstarter. And then these are sort of the initial main products. So we were trying to appeal to the consumer market, making it really easy to code on the go on your phone. That's what you'll be doing today. Although now we are heading more towards the education market and supporting students in schools. The Imagi charm is of course still relevant in that setting. These are great in a classroom because they're shareable, they're silicone, and yeah, really great for cleaning and things like that. Students love them in any setting, basically. And this is what the new web platform looks like, but again, mobile today. These are some of our partners. This is a little bit outdated. We've had educational partners in Sweden, the US, all over the EU, and actually on every single continent now, which is very exciting. But yes, we're just 4 years old, so we're gonna get there. And now it is time to learn to code in Python the Imagi way. So this is a rather unusual use of Python, but we are excited to make it really accessible for everyone through art. Also an outdated number. That's definitely much higher now. Many more thousands of projects in the app, which you can all go through at your own pace on the Explore feed. Okay, so you don't have to unmute, but you're welcome to type in the chat. How would you explain to me, even if you've never played chess, how would you explain to me where this X is? What would you call that?
I would say that it's on, like, oh my God, that's hard. And I have tried the app.
Oops, I showed you.
Um,
I didn't mean to click. I didn't mean to click. Yes, thank you. Well, both got it correct in the chat. D6 or
Nice.
6D. Yeah. So in this case, I didn't specify which order to say it in, but great, perfect. So in our world, we actually use numbers exclusively, and it starts with 0. That's something special about Python. And this whole matrix, this board is called M. So you're just going to have to type that later. So I'm going to give you another pixel. Now, how might you identify this? Before I tell you whether it's row or column first, just given that they're just 2 numbers, how might you say that where the location is? Yeah, 3, 2. 3, 2 or 2, 3. Yeah, great. So in our case, we're going to be doing row first and then column. And that's actually the code you're going to type, more or less, M, and then these square brackets. Sometimes these square brackets are hard to find, but on mobile, we actually kind of give a little shortcut for it. So in the Imagi world, it's going to be row and then column. So it's actually going to be what's pink first. So row 2, column 3. So you're going to do that equals on to turn the pixel on. So I'm going to show you where to do this. So in the code, to go to the code editor, you're going to go to create tab, which is generally in the middle of the app, and you're going to create a blank project. So it should look something like this, or if you're on Android, it might not be blank. There might be some things in it, but you're just going to start a new project. Once you are there, I will leave this up for a minute. Then you can type what that code was. Thank you for sharing that. So this is what you should be typing. We can do that together. Equals on. Run, and then you click run. If you're successful, there will be a success message, no bugs. If you have a bug, please tell us. It's exciting. We love to correct errors. And then you can click this pink preview button to see if what you wanted has come to life. And so you just lit up your first pixel. Let me know if you need any help here. Run and then preview. Should be in the create part of your app. Yeah. So I'm going to pause there for a second. And then the next activity will be a couple more pixels that you're going to have to code. Let me know if you need any help. I'm going to assume not. Now that you've learned how to do 1 pixel, how do you think we're going to do this whole smiley face? How about this? Why don't you tell me in the chat how many lines of code you think it will take to create this? Given just what you know now. How many lines of code? 3 lines of code. It could be 3 lines of code. It's a good guess. It might be 3 lines of code if you're quite advanced, but what we just learned now, it would actually be 8 lines of code. Yes, perfect, Louise. Yes, thank you. Yeah, nailed it. So you can go ahead and type this out. It's going to take a minute, but let's all do it. Let's see who can type the fastest on their phone. You have to remember that this is generally designed for kids and they are much faster than we are. Although I learned when I was 25, so I think it's not just for kids. You can start a new project or you can code in the project you were just in. Mm-hmm. And also copy and paste, which will save you quite a bit of time. I'm nearly done. Then I'm going to click run and preview. It should look something like this. The eye is off, that's fine. If one part of the mouth is off, that's fine, as long as you get the main idea. And if there's an error, it's probably because of spacing. Python, of course, is very specific with how it wants to be typed, as are most coding languages. Cool, I'm gonna move on. The code should appear on the next page, and it doesn't. Okay, so maybe I'll leave it here. Just please put in the chat when you're done coding the smiley face. And also save it. I'm gonna save it as smiley face. You can name your project whatever you want. Cute, perfect, that's good enough. Very nice. I'm going to move on. Wherever you're at in your smiley face, you can save it now. It can be half complete. As long as you understand pixel locations, then we've achieved success. So it's fun to add some colors, but these are some little shortcut colors. I'm actually going to skip over this and just show you how it works. You don't have to type anything. But in the Imagi world, we've made little shortcuts so that the capital of these letters makes that color: red, orange, yellow, green, aqua, blue, purple, magenta. And then white and black as well. So instead of on, you can replace any of your pixels with this capital letter and it will bring that color to life. For example, B for blue, capital B, capital R for red mouth. But there's a much more fun way to get a color that you would like. Learned RGBs before. This is something you've heard of in the context of coding. Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you how we teach it. So the values can be a minimum of 0, which is none of that color, to 255, the maximum of that color. Red, fully red, 255, no red at all, 0. And it's always in this order, R, G, and B. And so we don't ask our coders to memorize this. We just want to teach them so they understand sort of how it works. So if the full R value is there and no G and no B, it would be red. So that one's red. I'm just going to go through this quickly since you're all sort of pros. This one is going to be green. And then magenta is a mix of red and blue. So that one, the RGB value is going to be this. Absolutely no G, max R, max B. And then yellow is a mix of green and red. So there we go. And then we show everyone that you can bring to life any color that you like, as long as the number value is less than 255 and above 0, 0 or above. And so sometimes what I like to do is randomly input numbers and see what color I get out. Or you can be more strategic and plan it out. So here, instead of B's and R's, we can make more custom colors. So for example, this shade of yellow and this shade of purple, you would just type out the RGB values, making sure the parentheses and spacing is correct. But what's more important is instead of typing out a lot of numbers many times, there's a shortcut. So we immediately teach variables. Instead of all these numbers and lines of text, we are going to replace this with a variable. So we can have a couple pixels on our face that we are going to name. A variable is pretty much like a name or a label. We're going to name it eye, and then we're going to name some other pixels mouth. So you're going to make 2 spaces at the beginning of your code, and you're going to type out I equals, and then whatever color you would like it to equal. So for the 2 eye pixels, what's a color that you like? You can create a funky one. I'm just going to put some random numbers and see what we get here. And then mouth. We're calling it mouth just because the pixels at the bottom could be a mouth. So you're able to name it lips or lip or whatever you like. These variables are your own. Okay. And then you have to replace on with the variable. So whatever you want to be the eye color, you have to call it eye. So make sure you change all those lines of text as well. Copying and pasting can help here. Cool. So I got this like orangey and purpley blue color. Let me know when you're all done with yours and what colors you may have gotten. This is my code. Cute. Nice. Oh, those are similar colors. Great. I'm going to continue. So now you know how to do variables. And then given just what we've learned, this would take a lot of time to type out. But there is much shorter ways to code something like this. That is a pattern. So we immediately teach for loops, actually. And we make sure that everyone understands what a for loop is really doing. It's just giving a direction for a certain amount of time. So the computer knows within this range, you are doing this behavior again and again and executing this command. In our case, this is what we would want to do. So we would want every single pixel in the first row to be red. What is in common? Look at these lines of code. What is in common with these lines of code? What do they all have the same of? These lines of code, other than red color, because that's what we want. Something they have in common. That's right. They start at 0, and yeah, what's in common is everything but the columns. Both are correct. Perfect. So we're gonna create a for loop over the values of the column because that is what is different, but they all have the same row number. So the code would look like this. So don't type what's on the left, you're gonna type what's on the right. So start a new blank project, save that old smiley face, start a new project from scratch. We're gonna make this beautiful rainbow together. And you're gonna type for call in range. Thank you, Connie, that's very sweet. I hope your 6-year-old likes this. I will try to go slowly. This one might take a little more explanation for the 6-year-old. But the explanations, yeah. So make sure you're indenting. So that means giving a space in that second row. You see that M has a space before it. This is important in Python to make sure that the computer knows what order of directions, and that indent tells the computer only do this behavior within this certain need here. So for loop looping over the values of the column, it should run and you can preview it, and hopefully it should just be that top line that is red. And the reason why it's 0 through 8 is because Python is exclusive, I believe. So even though it's columns 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we don't type, it's like until 8. That's why that's there. It's specific to Python. Yes, thank you. As you can see, I am new to this coding world and I understand things the way I've learned them with Imagi. Cool. All right, so we're gonna move on. What do you think goes in these square brackets? If we want to make the next row orange, what do you think we have to type? Anyone to type out what we got to code? Capital O, that's a capital O, by the way. It's going to be 1 for row 1, and then every column in row 1 is going to be orange. So we're going to type that out. And I think you can probably guess the next few lines of code based on this. So I'm going to show everyone the rest of the rainbow. So we are going to code this out together. And it's important that we code this out together because the final thing I will show you is an animation. So we want to get this correct. You don't have to do a perfect rainbow. You can do whatever kind of pattern and colors you like, by the way. Mine seems to look correct. Let me know if any of you need any help. Oh, it matches the flag behind me. That's convenient. Very nice. Connie, for your youngest, hopefully you have a sense of what needs to be coded. I know you might be taking your time, but I'm going to move on. Let's see, does the code stay up? It doesn't, but you'll see the code quickly. So I will be very quick in explaining this. The first animation ever is just frames of images or pictures layered on top of each other very quickly. And that's kind of how we animate in the Imagi world as well. So we call them frames. And you don't have to code this, just to show you how this works. These are 2 pixels, right? This looks like they're blinking, but it's actually the computer layering a direction on top of another one. So that's kind of what we do. We say, okay, we're gonna tell the computer we're gonna animate now. So that's that first line of code, the animation object. And now we're gonna add a frame. So each time the computer adds an image on top of what was previously there. So in the case of our rainbow, it's actually quite simple. We're going to add this animation object at the beginning, make sure the capitalization is perfect. And then at the very end, you're going to keep that indent and you're going to add a frame so that over every column, it does this behavior. It animates over every column. So we're going to do that together. Oh, thank you, Connie. That's great. I'm so happy to hear. Okay. Maybe we can get her one of these for Christmas. One of these Imagi charms. A equals animation. So I'm gonna type this out. Yes. And then make sure there's space at the bottom. A.add underscore frame. So if you've added that line of code at the beginning and the end, it should yield this rainbow, almost like a flag swaying in the wind. And that's how we make animations happen. Very cool. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. Perfect. So unfortunately, that's pretty much what I have time for right now. This crash course that I've given you is typically done in a much longer amount of time with a group of students, but you clearly know what you're doing, and we're really excited to work with more folks in Sweden and yeah, reaching anyone who wants to learn, engage with Python. We have a lot more learning content. I will share that afterwards, as well as these slides. You're welcome to email me, ask me any questions. We're in Stockholm, we're around in case you're all in Stockholm, let me know. Yeah, really happy to support this community.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm gonna get your I can post your contact details and
Yes,
everything on the
absolutely.
YouTube link. And Connie, I'm gonna post the YouTube video straight away so you guys can keep exploring and
Yes.
have a look at it. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for doing this.
Yeah. Glad you had fun. Bye. Thank